And this, I love this quote from Andy. It's in the film that we made about it called The Moment. And this speaks to me as a psychologist and someone very interested in the mindset and mentality and how we can kind of get into that moment, if you like. So you can be on that exit point for 5 minutes, battling all these voices in the head, and all of a sudden a calmness comes over you and you realize it's good, let's do it. We used to call that the moment. And again, I mean, that's particularly poignant to me because I went back to be ahead with Hans and the team in last year in August, and I got to stand on that edge myself, exactly where Andy had jumped from and was talking about at the moment. And as a psychologist as well, I wanted to be able to get myself into the right headspace because actually all this journey of mine through the base community, and it's cool to be involved with, have a kind of vicarious experience of base jumping. And I like to think I'm adventurous, and as a psychologist, like I said, think that I kind of know what it's all about. But until you actually do it yourself, you're not really kind of practicing what you preach, if you like. So I'll just give you a little overview of the science, and this is something I'd talk about in a lot more detail and write about. So I'm a psychologist, I'm also a neuroscientist, and I'm very interested in the physiological sort of response to stress and how we overcome that. What's the mindset we use, what's the kind of techniques we can use to get into that headspace. And I actually had to put this into practice myself. Now, a quick explanation of this graph. So we're looking at heart rate. I'm actually wearing a chest heart strap at the moment, which is measuring ECG. And what we can do with that data, we can translate that into an index of stress, if you like. I'll kind of keep it in a quite a graspable kind of way. And what's happening, where the graph's dropping low, this actually corresponds with what's called low heart rate variability. And the more variable your heart rate, the more you can deal with stress. You can bring calm into the system. This is based on research with skydivers, which has shown that when we have this stress response, we go into what's called the fight or flight, which we're all familiar with. And that's kind of like the seesaws tipping towards a high arousal state, intense. You're kind of going into this sort of instinctive response. But actually, research with skydivers has shown that experienced skydivers can balance this system out, something called the parasympathetic nervous system, but I won't go into depth on the terminology. But that basically is balancing with a calming aspect to the system with that kind of, fight or flight. Actually, something they call excite and delight. So you'll be happy to know when you jump out of a plane, you're being excited and delighted, apparently, and you're co-activating these two parts of the system. So that's something I study, and I want to bring that kind of information back into the team, which is something I do to help.
I must admit, when we first started working with Dave, there's nothing like being on the edge of an exit point and then Dave coming in, how you feeling? And I need to focus on what's going on, but over the time it has got better, and we call the moment and the cogs.
Yeah. Tell them about the cogs, please.
So Dave works with us quite really well. I have this thing, what I call it the cogs. So my moment is called the cogs. It's when I get to an exit point, I'm not going to go into all these. I've got like a series of cogs, maybe 5 or 6, depending on the type of jump, and they're spinning really quick until they all line up, and I'm happy with everything. Then I'm good to go. And sometimes that can take a minute, a couple of seconds. Some jumps, 5 minutes. Okay, it all really depends. And again, having Dave on that team is, he's translating it so it just makes a bit more sense, and it's able just to push us that little bit more.
Yeah. And obviously, as a psychologist, I'm the epitome of calm. I can put all these techniques into practice, as you can see, as on my jump. Which is funny, and this is part of the thing with having the video imagery, because you watch the video and think, I was quite calm, and then you freeze frame it, and you say, what the hell is my hair doing? I have no idea. But yeah, so that's part of what I do, and I'm happy to talk to people more about this in the bar later or whatever. I just want to shout out to my brain. So it's so interesting to me, this. I go and learn how to analyze my own brain. So I've actually imaged my own brain, not while base jumping, but that's in the lab, reliving the base jumping. And I actually believe, just a plug for what I'm doing, I believe this is useful for looking at PTSD and such and so forth. So I do wear many hats. I'm not just the photographer, the mountain person, the carrying all the hats down, etc. I'm also a sort of a brain scientist as well. So that's enough about me and what I'm doing.